Okay, I'm gonna try this again. This is my second attempt. I'm sure there might be many more. So a friend suggested that I start a YouTube channel, and I've had a YouTube channel actually since 2020, because that was when, during the pandemic, as a teacher, I used it to show instructional videos, or that was the plan, to show instructional videos for my students. Don't think they actually watched them. They weren't really interested in doing work. Valid. And so I didn't do much on there, but I thought, oh, it was worth a try to do it again. And so here we are. I wondered whether or not to introduce myself, or whether to just launch into creative process, but I thought I might as well try to introduce myself. That was much more condensed than my first attempt. My first attempt was all over the place because of my ADHD. But yeah, here we go. So, I'm cleaning my palette at the moment to get it ready for the pavement. So I'm currently working on this area, which is going to be gravelly pavement area. It was, in the photo when I took it, it was the dock that went down into the water. This was my favorite pond to go to with my dog, and he loved this pond. It's called Bountiful Pond in Bountiful, Utah. And one time when I was at this pond, I showed up with I think my kids were with me, but at least my dog, because I had to hurry and get him on a leash because geese. And there was this girl sitting on the edge of the water on a bench thing, and she was feeding these geese, and she looked so sad, but also like just so sweet. She's sitting there feeding these geese, and they acted like she was like known to them, like they knew who she was, but maybe they were just like food and they didn't care who she was. I don't know. Or maybe they were probably so used to eating from strangers, so used to being fed, that's what I should say. So used to being fed at the lake that they didn't care. And they went to anybody. That's probably what it was. But regardless, it was just this really beautiful scene. And so I took a photo, and it wasn't the highest quality of photos, but I always kind of wanted to paint it. And that's the thing, is I have a lot of these ideas in my head of what I want to paint. I've had them over the years, but didn't have necessarily the skill level at that time to paint it. So I've held them in for all these years, and I'm finally at a place where I feel like I can paint all these scenes that I really, really love, that I wanted to paint. So for example, I did this one of my son recently, playing with a Lego ship, and it was when he was about 6 or so years old. He is now going to be 18, so that gives you an idea of how long I kept that photo waiting to paint it. So I finally painted it. I tried several times. The first time I attempted at painting it was at that time in watercolor, because oils are messy and toxic, so incredibly toxic. Hence why I'm trying to wear gloves. But I hate gloves. That's another off topic. But yeah, my son was like 6 or so, and my daughter was, I don't know how old she was, like 1 or 2. And I was painting this watercolor of him, and truth be told, it was terrible. I don't like doing watercolors of people. I don't. I've seen some that I like, but most I just personally don't like them. So I was trying to paint this painting, and I had to go use the bathroom, and I had given my daughter her own, this is hot chocolate, and yes, it is summer, but I love hot chocolate. I wish I liked coffee. That would probably help. When I was diagnosed with ADHD, the doctor was like, it was like 30, 33, I'm trying to remember, 30 I think. Yeah, and he was like, he comes into the room, and he's laughing as he comes into the room, and he's like, you have issues. And I'm like, I know, right? And how have you made it to 30 and not self-medicated with coffee? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just how it is. I've barely survived to this point. Driven everyone crazy. What was I talking about? Okay. My daughter, painting. I'd given her own paint. She didn't want her own paints. This is the story of my daughter. She always wants what mom has. She understands that whatever mom has to be better quality than what she has. And she's never been content to have her own stuff. Like my makeup. She currently is at her dad's house and she took all of my makeup with her. Like, are you kidding, kid? She took most of it. And to her credit, it's pretty boring because dad's working. And so she has to find a way to entertain herself, and she loves makeup. And so she does different makeup looks and practices them. Side topic, let's get back. Focus. So, doing linseed oil. Okay. I decided to go take a bath or a shower or something. I don't remember. And they were playing nicely by themselves, but she decided that she needed to paint mommy's painting, and so she swished all over it. That was a long story long, as my sister would say. So I'm going to try. I don't really know the best way to do this. So what I want to do is I want to thin out that all over that. I should probably paint those spots first. No, I'm going to put it all over, and then whatever shows through, I'll color match. Not sure if that will work. We'll see. That was from accidentally getting paint on me when I was remounting this on the wall because it fell off. Story of my life. Multiple times. So I've double stuck it up there with double the amount of Velcro strips, and we'll see if that works. So I'm going to try and thin it out with linseed oil. I've never used linseed oil before until just this week. Oh, that's so much easier. You waste less paint because when you try to paint it all with, gotta be careful around the geese. When you try to paint it all on there, you end up using so much paint. Here's the question of the day. No, I was going to say put it over top those shadows from the geese, but I would never be able to, I don't want to have to redraw them. So we're just going to try and get it around the shadows for the most part. There we go. So yeah, the linseed oil, that covered it up pretty nicely. I think I might still, so I'm trying to decide whether I like this color with the painting, if it's too dark, because I'm leaning towards it's too dark. And so I thought I would thin it out first, and then I could come back in and lighten it up with white. The thing is, I've always painted with mainly watercolors. See, that's, I could also go back over it with turpentine and then like take off a layer. I don't really know what I want to do. So I'm going to do what I always do, and I'm going to stand back and stare at it for a moment to see if it's the right color with the rest of it. I feel it's too dark and distracting. Maybe I need to trust the process and get it all done and then decide. But I think it might be too distracting. Or I could do it and then get it all, like I said, get it all done, and then I can come back and lighten it when I make it look gravelly. As I trip over my portfolio. So anyways, took me forever to get going today because I spilled paint on my floor. And here's my, what do you call it? My recommendation tip of how to get oil paint out of things. First, I use turpentine and try to wipe as much as I possibly can. And then, and I don't know if this is the right way, I just wing it. I wing a lot of things. And so I use turpentine, and then, let's see, use turpentine, and then I use dish soap, Dawn dish soap, and that has been what's worked the best for me. And then on my carpet, the next thing, because that doesn't typically get it all out, the next thing I do is I use my SmartBot. So if you have never heard of a SmartBot, or you've been thinking about getting one, I highly recommend it. They are really good for getting stains out of carpets. It saved me so much money. Like, I've gotten out slime from, you know, kids making slime. I've gotten out, so I feel like it's too green, but then that's all green. So if I'm doing color, my color combination so far is my color harmony, or whatever you want to call it, color palette: blue and orange and red and green, although I don't really want a ton of red in it. So I have been, normally I pick a, oh no, this would be all, Andrea, this would all be shadow. This is all going to be shadow. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so I guess I didn't need to cover as much, so that's good. Let's just work on that part then. We'll just work on that part. Let's move this down. There we go. Sorry if this is really not enjoyable to watch. I've never done anything like this before, so please forgive me. My other videos will eventually get better and better. That tends to be how it seems to go. So I'm going to use, I've used phthalo blue, I've used cad yellow, I've used cad red, Naples white, which is not white, but it is perfect for skin tones. I love it for skin tones. Naples yellow. What else? Raw umber. I've used a lot of raw umber. Oops, this is cad red. Don't want to knock anything off onto the carpet again. So I've used raw umber to like mute things down. So yeah, so now, and also I've used for my white, I've been using this soft mixing white. Trying it out, because I normally use zinc white or titanium white. If I remember right, in college, my professor, that's what he used. Which reminds me, I was going to introduce myself and then I got distracted. Oh, yes, that's right, Andrea, it's okay. You're good, you're good, you're good. So I grew up in Washington State. Oh, I was also going to say, my mother said it was really dry there. And then I was living in Wyoming at the time, and I was like, Mom, you don't know what dry is. Wyoming is so much drier. I want this to be super light, but I feel like it should be, I was planning on it being a warm color, so I think I might warm it up. But I think I might first smear some white all over it and see how that goes. I am winging it. Anyways, I grew up in Washington State. I was born in Wyoming. I'm not really a fan of Wyoming, so if you love Wyoming, that's great. But I do not like Wyoming. Nope, I don't like that. I think I'm going to warm that up. Yeah. So I had 7, well, technically 8, yeah, 8 siblings. I was gonna say there were 7 kids in our home, but I had 8 siblings. So yeah. I went to college in Idaho for art. I wasn't prepared though to be an art student or to be a student at all, because I haven't decided if I'm going to leave. In the picture, this edge was all rocky and rough. Well, not rocky, but pebbly. But I've been wondering, I've been contemplating whether I want to blend it in with the water or what I want to do. I haven't decided yet, clearly. Let's see how to warm it up. So I wasn't prepared to be a college student. I barely got into college, and it was my way of escaping home. I needed to escape my home, and college gave me that opportunity. I was able to escape my home, but because of trauma, I wasn't prepared. Let me stand up. There you go. Because of trauma and a bunch of things, like I was funding it completely on my own, and I was poor. Like, I didn't have money for college, and luckily I was going to a fairly cheap university, but compared to like a lot of other ones, it was super cheap, and that was the reason why I went there. One of the reasons. I won't get into the others, but yeah, I was not prepared to succeed. I didn't have the funding to succeed, and I didn't have a support system, and yeah, I was set up for failure. But I loved school. I know there's this huge push nowadays against education. Cad Red. I am mixing Cad Red. I will get better at this with time. I know there's this huge push against education because, or at least to go into other types like the trades, because I tend to make too much paint, so I need to get better. If I put too much red in, it's overpowering. There's this huge push in the society that I live in, the culture that I live in, the Pacific Northwest and the Mountain West, because I currently live in the Mountain West. There's this big push against education, and well, against university, traditional education, and saying, oh, we should push kids more towards the trades. And that's really awesome for kids who want to go into the trades. I completely agree. Color theory and color mixing is one of my favorite things to do. I'm trying to learn how to do it with oils. I'm really good at it with acrylics, really good at it with watercolor, but that is a lovely skin tone almost. Look at that. Not really what I want there. See, I need it more muted. It's too warm now. So what if I were to take some of that green? Oops. There's a lot of red apparently on my things. I'm going to take some of this green I have over here that I was using for that, and I'm going to mix that into this and see if it mutes it out. The right amount. So anyways, I love education. I love traditional education. I learned so much in college. So I always encourage kids that if they want to go to college, there's lots of ways to pay for it without going into debt. Now, I was really privileged in that my education, man, that color was overpowering, that green. My education was really cheap, and not every one's education is that cheap. Oh, that's warmer. Oops, that's red. I love palette knives. I have decided they are the way to go. I think that color might be perfect. Yes. Yes, I like that. Okay. So, I think this will work. Yeah, let's do this. There's some who streaks of red because they're on the knife, but I can mix them in later as I go. Yeah, I always encourage kids and say you can pay with scholarships, because that's what I did. I paid with scholarships. I paid with working. My scholarships covered tuition and then I had, and I think some of my tuition and my housing. And then I had to work a job at a call center doing surveys in order to pay for food and art supplies. And so it was rough. It was really rough. There were times that I was literally starving. It's a sad story, maybe for another time. I don't know if I'll share that story ever, but yeah, it was rough. And so I wasn't prepared to succeed in school when I first went to school, but I soaked in everything. Even if I wasn't ready for it at that time, I soaked it in. And so I still remember to this day things that my oil professor taught, things that my watercolor professor. The reason I did watercolor for years was because of that one professor. His name was Richard Bird, and he was passionate. And when someone is passionate, it makes you passionate. And he was passionate about painting, watercolors, and color in general. He loved color. I'm going to go back over this and smooth it out with a brush. Well, actually, it's supposed to be rough because it's going to be gravel. And then I still have to figure out what I'm doing with that edge because I don't want it to be that noticeable. So I'll probably, what I'll probably do is, I don't know. I could, this is one idea. I might mute out the blue and the gray and mix them so you don't know where the water stops and the pavement begins. We'll see. It's hard because photos often can look a certain way and you understand it like it looks real in a photo, whereas when you try to put it in a painting, it doesn't work. And I think that edge is where, yes, that's what it looks like in the photo, but it's not how it really works when you try to go in and do it with paint. Anyways, it looks wrong. In the photo there was pebbles, and it was, like I said, it was really hard to see because of the quality of the photo, but that means that I can blur it out. And so I think I should blur it out so that you're not really paying attention to it, because that's how it was in the photo. I keep saying that funky. Photo. In the photo, that's how it was. It's like one of those things where you say a word too frequently and it sounds funny. So yeah, I went to art school. Red. In Idaho. And I went to be a professional artist. I was planning on being a professional artist. However, my ex-husband at the time, when I got married, he was finishing up his degree in accounting. And in the culture I was raised in and was in, it was patriarchal. And the men, as soon as they get graduate or whatever, they go right to work, and their education, their careers, everything takes precedence over their wives, because you are just supposed to be a homemaker. And it's not that there's anything wrong with being a homemaker. Like, if that's what you want to do and you choose to do it, but if you didn't get a choice in it because you were conditioned by your culture, that's your only option. And I was, since I was a little kid, I was raised that you went to college just to find a husband. And then they would make fun of you. This bugs me, where I could rant about this all day. They will make fun of the women, the girls in this situation, like, oh, you just went to college to get a husband, you're just getting a Mrs. degree. But what, as if they're somehow like less intelligent you know, for doing it, but that was literally what they were raised with. Is you were told over and over and over again from the time you were a little girl that your only worth was in being a mother. And you could go get a career, but your entire career was meant to supplement and support your husband's. So like if he had a job that paid well enough, you shouldn't be working, you should be home. And there's people who would disagree and say that was not my experience, but that was literally what we were taught, most of us. And yeah, there are exceptions. There's some people who were raised in homes with career-minded mothers, and so their experience was different. But as a whole, that was what we were taught in this culture. And so, yeah, I went to school to get married because you were told that was what your worth was. But I, at the same time, really, really wanted to be an artist. But I just didn't feel confident. I had really low self-esteem. And so when my husband graduated, my ex-husband, he got a job in Salt Lake, and we moved to Salt Lake. And trying to think of where to paint. Trying to remember the shadows, which things are shadows and which things are pavement. Let's look at this. I should probably start painting with a brush at this point. Sorry, I live near a train and it gets kind of loud. I have the window open, I should close it while the train is going. As the train is gone, I finally close the window. Sometimes with ADHD, I will block out sounds because they're overwhelming and they're sitting there in the back of my head driving me crazy, and suddenly I'm like, oh, I can shut the window. I finally do. So yeah, we went to Salt Lake. We moved to Salt Lake because that's what you do when your husband gets a job, is you go where your husband's job is. And I was severely depressed because I wanted so badly to graduate. And I wasn't given that option. Instead, I was told I should get a degree in a real field of study, such as dental hygienist. That was one that I was told repeatedly that I should go into, was go be a dental hygienist. They make bank. And that would be a good supplemental income to your husband, because being an artist is unrealistic. Well, I knew that going back to school, I'm oppositional. Oops. Am I doing this right? What is that? Oh, I think I see it now. Okay. I'm oppositional, like don't tell me what to do kind of thing. I'm not going to do it if you like tell me what to do, unless it's something that I really want to do and if you're supportive, right? And so I had no desire to go be a dental hygienist because that just did not sound enjoyable to me, to be in people's mouths. Like, no, thank you. I'll pass. Any office job also would have killed my soul. And so what I planned was to be an illustrator, because I was told that you could be a mom and an illustrator at the same time. Be a stay-at-home mom, because you're supposed to be a stay-at-home mom, and be an illustrator at the same exact time. I need to clean my brushes. Maybe y'all can just listen and not watch it go all over the place. You know, like stick this on and then listen. And then occasionally look at it and be like, oh, she's moved. Instead of being like getting seasick from it going all over the place, my thing wobbles a little bit. My condolences. I am sorry. Oh, I need more turpentine in my thing. Yes. need to grab the turpentine. Just a moment and look at my painting while I go get the turpentine. Okie dokie. So we moved to Salt Lake. I was very depressed at the time because when you are an artist, where did I put that knife, that butter knife? Being an artist, if you really, I don't know, it's most people I know who are artists, this is a great use of your kitchen tools. I should probably use like a screwdriver, although the screwdriver is covered in raw sienna at the moment and I need to clean that. Most people that I know whom are artists have to create. I remember one of my favorite people, a teacher from high school, she told me, she described it as when you are a creator, you have to create like it's like breathing air. Like you need to do it. And if you don't, then you can get really depressed. And so that was what happened when I moved to Salt Lake. I was isolated, didn't have any support system whatsoever. I remember first time calling when I was pregnant and I was trying to figure out insurance, and I didn't know what I was doing because I was so young. I was a baby. And I didn't know what I was doing. And so I remember calling the insurance back at my college because I think I was still on it or something. And calling them, called them, and the poor guy on the phone was so worried about me. He was really sweet. He was like, do you have anybody, like anyone? And I'm like, because I didn't know what I was doing. Anyways, what was I going to use? I should probably clean all my brushes. I will clean them all because I need to. And my room, I should do this outside, but I don't want to sit outside because I don't want to. So I'm going to do it in my bedroom, and my room's going to smell like turpentine, and I'm going to have to leave the window open and then go to another place for like 24 hours while the smell goes away. Anyways, so yeah, I was very much isolated, no support system, because I didn't have the kind of family that other people have, so I didn't have that. And we moved a lot. We lived in Salt Lake, then we lived in Bountiful, it was Centerville, sorry. We lived in Centerville, Utah, and then we moved back to Idaho, and we moved a lot in Idaho. Not a fan of Idaho. It's really pretty, but it's not culturally for me. I don't fit in Idaho. But it's very pretty in places. Certain places are very pretty in Idaho. Where's my garbage? So yeah, it took till 2007. That was 2005, and then it took till 2007 before I was pregnant. Whatever. It took till 2000. I left school in 2005, but it took till 2007 for me to realize that I needed to paint. I needed it. I was so depressed. And I realized that I needed to paint. So I started painting. And I had such severe, I still do, imposter syndrome. Feeling like you're not really an artist. You're not really good enough. And I wasn't at that point very good. But I took everything and just eventually got better. I got better and better. And then when I was 2012 to 2013, I was able to finish a degree. It wasn't the degree I wanted. I'm still hurt about that because I really wanted a different degree, but I'm trying to think of how to word this. Like I said, culturally, you were expected to be a stay-at-home mother, and not everyone is supportive of the idea of moving to a place that is purely for the woman in the relationship to succeed. and I would have needed to move back to the university where I went to school in order to do a BFA. I really wanted a BFA. But will this be sufficient? No, I should probably clean another one. But so I had to get a BA in art, and I am so jealous of people who have BFAs. Like I was so jealous of the idea of spending all this time building a body of work under supervision. Like, I'm having to wing it here. Like, I mess up a lot. I don't know what technique is like best. I don't know. I'm just figuring it out as I go, and so I'm jealous. I admit it. So, but you don't really have to go to college to be an artist. Not especially nowadays. You can like learn anything you want on YouTube. My watercolor professor that I loved in college, he was the Bob Ross of watercolor artists in that, like, his personality. He was, I said it. I went in college, they were very against Bob Ross, and any commercialized art, but like people who were self-taught and didn't understand color theory. So I used to be very anti Bob Ross, but I actually loved him growing up, and I still love him. Disclaimer, don't come at me. I do love Bob Ross, but I can't watch his videos. I can't because I love color theory way too much. I love color theory and design way too much. And so it's like, I explain it like it would be really hard for someone who was a concert pianist to listen to people. Well, I know a teacher up in the school I taught in Wyoming. He said he compared it to how hard it was for him to listen to pop music. He was a music teacher, orchestra teacher, and he said it was really hard for him to listen to to pop music because of music theory, and like he couldn't really enjoy it. And I remember my professor in college, who was an oil professor, said the same thing, that it made it hard, that it was kind of a curse, that once you learn how to do stuff and like become a master at, this sounds really pretentious. It's not meant to sound pretentious, okay? Once you become a master at something, it's really hard to enjoy things because you see what's wrong with those things. Like I imagine cooking is like this. Like, it would be hard to enjoy fast food as much. I don't know. Or like, let's say you grew up, good analogy. Let's say you grew up with a grandmother who didn't like salt and pepper, or did like salt and pepper, but didn't like garlic powder. This is Idaho. Don't come at me, Idahoans. But a lot of people that I met in Idaho, I got paint on me. I just put more paint on me. This is why I'm going to die of cancer someday. A lot of people that I personally have known, so it's anecdotal, in Idaho don't like lots of spices. There we go. I think we're good to go. So let's say you grew up having that kind of cooking and you enjoyed it, but then when you got older, you learned about garlic powder and then it ruined it for you because you couldn't go back to grandma's cooking completely necessarily. It would taste bland. Kind of the allegory of the cave kind of situation going on, where once you've seen what's available, I don't know what's going on here. Photo, I have the photo. Once you've seen, what good cooking is, it's hard to enjoy bad cooking. Or not necessarily bad cooking, but cooking that doesn't use spices. And so that's kind of the way I feel with art and enjoying something like Bob Ross. Oh, shoot. forgot this photo cuts it off. I did mess up. So this is supposed to be here, of course. So I'm gonna have to just cover it and then go back in and put the, oh good. I thought I put this on the water. No, I didn't. I'm gonna have to go back in and paint in shadows. I think I'm gonna pause my video and, well, let me first do this. Okay, so anyways, yeah, so in 2012 to 2013, I finished my degree and then started painting even more. And when I went back to, that is different because it didn't have the, maybe I should have put that down first. I'm gonna put that down because that was a layer underneath. Oh, that was good. I think I just messed it up. I think I was right. I think this. Andrea. Yeah, I messed up. Somehow I messed up. Because I knew that was a shadow. That was a shadow. So then that should have been not a shadow. No, that's a shadow. That's right. Or not a shadow. Yeah, not a shadow. Okay, that's not a shadow. That's right. Or this is not a shadow. That is a shadow. Okay, so back here would be, so I messed up that shadow. It should come out. Yeah, okay. So, yeah. And then when I got divorced, I was able to become a teacher. But my true passion lies in being an artist. And so I do the best I can to do art on the side. That's what's nice about summer, is that I can spend it all painting. And this is the first time I've actually been able to do that, because I struggle with severe anxiety and then also just being a mom. And you still have to work, even as a teacher. Oh, that was that one paint I had on it. Oops. Let's go back over. No, that was right. Why does that look darker? Shouldn't be darker. Maybe it's just playing a trick on me. No, it looked darker. That's right. Let's go back over it. What was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. Oh, I have severe anxiety, and so I have a lot of, I struggle a lot with confidence as a result of anxiety, and so I am on really good anxiety meds. I know you really want to know that, but I am. And I think it's important to talk about it, because other people might be like worried about going on them. I don't know. I have a really good doctor, and I've gotten on good combination, and it has made a world of difference. I think I accidentally put shadows in there. I did. That weren't shadows, they were stuff in the background. Okay. And so because of the anxiety meds, this year has been so much better. I've been able to do so much more art. Like, this is my favorite painting I've ever done. I didn't feel confident in being able to do it this well before, so very proud of it. In any case, yeah. So I have 2 kids and 2 cats. Yeah, that's my introduction. Sorry it was very long-winded. Hopefully you didn't get bored and leave. Yeah, call it for the day. Thanks for watching.